After nearly 4 days of intensive investigation that includes laboratory test results and other investigative methods, the police department has concluded that Steve McNair was murdered by Sahil Kazemi, and that in turn, Sahil Kazemi killed herself with a single gunshot wound to her head. While we may never know exactly what drove Ms. Kazemi to make that decision on that Saturday morning, the totality of the evidence clearly points to a murder-suicide. It's also important to note briefly that widely publicized media diagrams of the exact body of Kazemi and other information about the shooting sequence is in fact in error. Based upon the appearance of the crime scene, evidence collected, autopsy findings, laboratory results, and an incredible amount of work by our investigative team, there's no doubt, we believe now at this time, that McNair was seated on the sofa and likely was asleep. And we believe that Kazemi shot him in the right temple, then shot him twice in the chest, and then shot him a final time in the left temple. Kazemi then positioned herself next to McNair on the sofa and shot herself once in the right temple and expired. Over the last 5 to 7 days of Kazemi's life, our investigation is learning that she had become very distraught and on 2 occasions told friends and associates that her life was all messed up and that she was going to end it all. Ms. Kazemi had a vehicle that she owned. While the Escalade was purchased, we think with Mr. McNair, we believe she was paying payments on the Escalade. She was paying payments on a Kia, and her roommate was about to leave, which was going to effectively double her mortgage, her rent payment, I should say. We also have reason to believe that Kazemi recently learned before this day that she believed McNair was involved with another woman, and that too participated in her state of mind, we think. As it relates to the discovery of the bodies and Mr. Wayne Neely's actions, analysis of preliminary cell phone records and a re-interview with Mr. Neely indicates to our detectives that Mr. Neely has been, in fact, truthful. While it is unusual that there was a 44-minute delay between the discovery of the body and the first phone call, it's not unheard of. And again, I would caution, there is no evidence whatsoever that any of the crime scene and the bodies had been tampered with or moved or altered in any way. At this time, the police department still has remaining issues to look at. There are videos of the area around the condo that we're looking at, and the videos we've seen so far do not give us any information that would contradict these murder-suicide conclusions. We also want to remind anyone in the community, if they have any additional information, to please contact our detectives and we'll provide that information. Finally, any death is tragic. And the deaths that we're talking about today are tragic to the families of all involved and tragic to our community. With that, I've concluded my formal comments. Are there any questions?
Is there a suicide note?
No.
Was there anything that you've been able to determine that pushed her to violence toward him that particular night?
As we discussed, we think in the last 5 to 7 days of her life, many things were stressing her. One of the stressors was whether or not her relationship was unraveling with Mr. McNair. We can't put ourselves in the mind of people who do these terribly irrational acts, but we do believe there's evidence that she was spinning out of control.
Had he made promises to her about a future relationship?
I don't know that.
Chief, can we talk about Keith Norfleet? Is he a suspect or is he totally clear from this investigation?
Given all the investigation, all the statements taken, and the physical evidence on the scene, Mr. Norfleet is no longer a suspect.
What about the purchase of the gun? Who was present, or do you know who was present with her, and how did that all take place?
We believe that was just her and the person she purchased it from. She knew the gentleman she bought the gun from a prior vehicle purchase or discussions of a vehicle purchase, and quite by serendipity, it turns out that he said to her that he had a gun when she asked if there was any way he knew of getting a gun. They transacted the deal at around 5 o'clock at the Dave & Buster's Opry Mills area in the parking lot, and that pretty much is where that ends. I know that the ATF has commented on that issue, and that's really left for them to comment on.